You're listening to Cards to the Moon, a podcast about trading cards from both a collector and investor perspective. We hope you'll stick around for the ride as we take a deep dive into the state of the hobby, share some hot takes, hopefully some useful advice, and fun stories along the way. Hey guys, welcome back to Cards to the Moon. This is episode 105. It is our first Friday episode of 2023. My name is Clark from 5 Card Guys on Instagram and 5cardguys.com. And with me as usual is Hyung of Integrity Sports Cards and John, who is Trade You at Recess. But before we get into our show, actually, John, we missed you in our first regular episode of 2023, where we talked about Grail cards that we're hoping to chase this year. And what we expect to be another down market for the first half of the year at least. We're talking off air about that. So just want to quickly ask you, what Grail card or cards are you hoping to add to your PC if the price is right?
I mentioned it before, but I'm still looking at some sort of Kobe patch auto. I think that was my ultimate PC Grail Kobe over the Topps Chrome. I know Topps Chrome was one of my early Grails, but it's since moved on to like some sort of flawless, I don't care about the grade, some sort of flawless game used autograph on card. That was my Kobe Grail. So I am quietly keeping my eye open. I don't have the cash to spend, but certainly if I get lucky and at one of these shows, a Kobe card kind of pops out, I will do my darndest to try to get that trade to happen. But Kobe's number one, and then some investment, like I would really love to have an Ohtani before the baseball season starts. So that's another target. Luka's still up there. I got a nice Luka for myself, but I would still love a Luka. I think those three are probably in the top. And there's other players too. You know how it is. Like when we go to the shows, I think you have certain targets, but if you just happen to randomly see a card, you're like, "Woo!" Right. I kind of want you guys. You kind of that your eyes go a different direction. You never know what happens, but
nice.
Yeah.
It. Those are good choices. We talked about it more extensively, Hyung and I, in the last episode. And we always say I feel like 2023 is Grail hunting season. So whenever any of us makes a purchase of one of our Grail cards, we'll update our podcast listeners. I almost pulled the trigger on Mike Trout. I was telling you guys off the air. But apparently on Golden, you have to bid in $500 increments, and I didn't want to go another $500 up. So lesson learned. Bid early in some cases and hope for the best. All right. Off the top for this episode, just wanted to ask you guys about Shyne's recent acquisition. Shyne is a super high-end collector, Shyne 150, I believe, on Instagram. He acquired the Luka Doncic Logoman autograph card for $3.1 million. And for those, like I said, if you don't know, just check Shyne 150's account. Baller cards, like he just, and he's actually the same card. It's actually the same card he sold a year ago for $4.6 million. So essentially, he bought the card back at a discount while also netting a profit of $1.5 million. And I have to mention this because someone wrote this on my comments when I did an IG reel about this Luka Doncic transaction. You have to incorporate the taxes. So 1.5 million minus taxes incurred on the previous sale.
So what do you mean taxes incurred as in like they paid like state taxes on the like purchase?
On the or maybe on the sale?
Or it was more than 1.5, or Shyne's take home was less than 1.5 is exactly what he was saying.
You're right.
Yeah, whatever that was.
Whatever that is.
Profit's a profit. The guy when's the last time whoever made that comment, when's the last time you flipped for $1 million net profit? It's like, come on, man. Who cares?
I'd be happy with whatever we got. Yeah.
Like this guy's playing chess out here. Yeah. You know what I mean? But that's why it's like, it's proof that, you have access to a different game at kind of like that level. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So right. I think that's brilliant, to be honest. If I could do that, I would do it. And now he has that same card with, $1 million plus in profit. So how could that not be a great move? If we did it with $1,000, we'd be like suckers. Like,
Yeah, true.
that's a healthy year's salary.
Yeah. No, good on him, man. You know, we talked. Remember we talked predictions about this card back when it was happening, and I remember I think I mentioned like, you know, anyone who pays over 2.5, I think that's like way too much for this card. And then I think the week after I kind of changed my tune and I said, you know, whatever it sells for, I think I happened to guess like around the $3 million mark, and whoever buys this, it's so funny because I was actually thinking of Shyne. Like in my mind, I was like, this is the type of guy that would buy this card. And I mentioned, and it's so funny, it works out to be Shyne because he's probably thinking the exact same thing. You know, as an investor, there are so many, I'm sure you could argue, way better investments in the $1 million marks that you could make good money on, like Wayne Gretzky PSA 10 or like a nice Mickey Mantle. There's people could make huge arguments to go for a very different card than like a hyped Logoman. But the person buying it is somebody in the millions of dollars of monies, and they just want the card that they want. Like they like staring at, it's kind of like their collection, right? Like if I'm going to spend $3 million on a card, I want the card that I want that's super special. And I don't want to stare at a Mickey Mantle card. I want to look at Luka, right? So I thought of Shyne when I was saying those comments, and it ended up being Shyne that bought it. It was pretty funny. Like, I mean, it makes sense, and good on him, man. Because he probably, I don't know what he paid for the card originally, like $1 million, and then sold it for 4.6. Yes, taxes or whatever, and he probably cleared like $3 million. So really, he's buying this with house money. So yeah, I'm sure he rationalized it in his mind like that. He's like, you know what? I profited originally like around $3 million. I'm buying this back for free. I get to enjoy it pretty much for free. So yeah, good on him, man. Yeah, we can only drool and dream to ever own a card like that.
Well, it's funny when you said, I was thinking of, and then you said Shyne. I thought you were for a second going to say, I was thinking of buying this card for 3.1 million. But no, I mean, like, I don't have much to add. Like, this was a brilliant move by Shyne. Right. And, you know, like, and it's an autograph card too, right? Like, it's not just a logo, man. Like, I don't know. I guess I don't know if I would have felt similarly if we were talking about the LeBron triple logo man that sold for 2.4 last year. Right. But this is like this
is auto.
No
legit.
Auto.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like with the auto, and like, you know, we all believe in Luka's talent, like a generational, and this is the card to have from Luka.
It's the card.
Have one, right? The logo man autograph. It's the National Treasures, right?
National Treasures. Yeah. And I think he owns the other two logo men already anyways.
Jeez.
He has the flawless one, and he has the immaculate, so he's got all three now.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. You need to complete the trio.
Yeah, he's doing Hyung's model, but with millions of dollars, cornering the market.
Yeah, Hyung's next. I believe in Hyung. All right, he's gonna be the next Shyne in the space.
You know what? If I ever get there, I'm gonna purchase that card from him. I'm gonna be like, you know what? I'm gonna play your game now here, and sell it to him.
And then I'm gonna write about it on 5cardguys.com.
Let's do it.
That's perfect. All right. So moving on to our Friday hobby discussion, I wanted to bring your guys' attention to the news that Fanatics is divesting 60% of their stake in Candy Digital, which is a NFT company that sold essentially digital trading cards, amongst other things. Now, full disclosure, I've partnered with Candy Digital a few times. You guys know this, to promote their NFT MLB digital packs on 5Card Guys, as well as we gave some away to some of our podcast listeners. But that won't impact my opinion on what I think about the future of NFT and digital cards, just to get that out there. And, you know, I think it's a worthy discussion to have, even when news like this seems bad for the digital collectibles space. So, all that said, I want to read a quote from Fanatics CEO Michael Rubin, partially explaining why they're selling their majority stake in Candy Digital, and then we'll have a brief discussion about it. Michael Rubin says, quote, "Over the past year, it has become clear that NFTs are unlikely to be sustainable or profitable as a standalone business. Aside from physical collectibles, i.e. trading cards, driving 99% of the business, we believe digital products will have more value and utility when connected to physical collectibles to create the best experience for collectors. And then he continues, ultimately, our goal is to grow the number of sports collectors. Connectivity between physical and digital collectibles will be the most powerful way to create an emotional resonance and enduring success for NFTs and their collectors. End quote. So your thoughts on Ruben's statement and just in general, the future of digital collectibles?
I think a lot of people are kind of like out on NFTs because they see how it was used in the industry and they see it kind of as a bust. But I think if you listen to all our episodes leading up to this episode, this was kind of like inevitable, right? It's where, you know, a company like Fanatics has to be the leaders of kind of like where this market's going, and then you use the technology of NFTs to understand what the value has in the marketplace. So I think this is what we're seeing. It's just a transition. This is how, you know, businesses and entrepreneurs basically, you know, eventually find out where things are going to go. So maybe at first they realize, you know, there is no connection with standalone products of NFTs because maybe the utility doesn't work in a way that it's supposed to from a digital standpoint, right? So whereas a physical, backed by physical, like we talked about, we said when a card is rare, you have a physical and digital copy. This makes more sense in terms of that, and also, you know, being able to add utility as well with NFTs and physical cards, right? So being an owner of a certain physical product might bring more value on the digital side, where it could be potentially you know, sold in the proper NFT marketplaces and still represented in that space, but you're actually getting the physical asset with it along with a lot of utility. So I think it's an evolution of kind of like development of technology in general. These are the growing pains that, you know, companies have to go through, but this is the direction it's going. It's the market dictates it. And, you know, people like Michael Rubin have access to enormous amounts of capital, which allows them to make their next moves in terms of the investments within the company. So for me, it's like, we need this. This is inevitable. I expect it to keep on happening like this, where people are going to be, you know, not really bullish on NFTs because they got burned in the past, or they just look at it from kind of like a micro lens. But yeah, we had this talk, you know, before, where I was saying, you know, I spend a lot of my time outside of kind of like the card market, seeing, you know, new technology and how it's going to impact, you know, the marketing side of things for entrepreneurs and businesses, and how that all impacts. And I'm telling you, it's the way our society is moving is we're pushing towards a digital world, and there's going to have to be a lot more data transferring back and forth with everything in general, with, you know, the rise of AI, the rise of kind of like virtual reality, being able to, you know, securely transfer enormous amounts of data to one another. And that's a communication method that we're just witnessing this day and age. And NFTs and blockchain technologies are all going to be part of those transactions, and whether we like it or not is what I'm saying. So it's like, we could have an opinion, oh, cards and NFTs will never, you know, be a thing and stuff like that. I'm telling you, it will be. And these are the leaders that are making it happen. He just flat out told you it makes sense now that they can't be standalone products. So what are they going to do? They're going to merge NFTs with actual physical assets. So to me, it makes sense. I know from a hobby standpoint, a business standpoint, a lot of people are just going to trash it just because of their kind of like biased opinion on NFTs in general. So I think, you know, it's not like great news or bad news. It's, for me as an entrepreneur myself, I look at it the same way. It's like how he's just looking at how can he be of better service to the card community and fix those, you know, fix those problems with these logical solutions that allow him to using technology, right? So
yeah. No, I hear you. For sure.
I feel like he's speaking exactly what I was trying to say when we dipped into NFTs a couple of weeks ago on the soccer stuff. I mentioned my experience. He obviously is articulating it perfectly versus what I was trying to say. But basically, for my experience, I dipped into it because it wasn't opening NFTs, and then the chase is also NFT, but the chase was something that was relatable to me, or something that I could, it made sense, right? So, you know, I mentioned
$30,000.
$30,000.
That's physical.
Yeah. No, but I was even mentioning like whether if it becomes like Panini points for you to get a hobby box or whatever. Like there's something that the chase that can connect me. I think the word that he used, connectivity, I think that is like perfect. So he articulates it really well. I think that makes sense. On the NFT side, I'm sure people who are really deep into it, they probably could care less about this comment. But to somebody that's on the physical side that loves sports cards, physical sports cards, looking at them, displaying it in the office, this really speaks to me big time. So I think he is speaking to the old school collectors in the sports card space, and it obviously sports cards continues to drive 99.9% of this industry, right? So it makes sense that he would say something like this. And in terms of like divesting their stake, I have no idea. Like, you know, we don't know if it was because of a difference in vision, or if they needed the money to invest elsewhere because they're about to buy a Panini or whatever. We don't know the cause or the business case, but yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point, because I didn't read the rest of his statement. It's a bit wieldy, but and lengthy. But one of the reasons why he did divest the 60% stake is to essentially get money back for the initial investors,
right?
Because he just thought they're just going to lose it if they keep their stake.
That's what I figured,
right?
Because his relationship with investors are the more important thing. And
For sure.
even though, you know, they lost money here, it's almost like, okay, this is where we're going. We're you know, cut some loss right now, but then he cares about the relationships with his investors because they're the future funders too, right? So
100%, and he does note that their investors believe in Fanatics, not necessarily in Candy Digital.
Right,
you know what I mean? They believed in their vision or their strategy at the beginning, but you know, now that they're pivoting strategies, that it makes sense to, you know, to think of their investors during this time as well. So, and you know what? I'll just add, like, I agree with all your points. I'll just add that they're divesting their stake to a company, I believe, called Galaxy Digital, a crypto merchant bank led by Mike Novogratz. He's big into the NFT space. So, you know, I think it's a wise decision. Like, a company like Galaxy Digital that's more familiar or more native to the NFT space, like they'll believe in it more, they could develop it more. So it makes sense for them to own the majority stake now, rather than Fanatics, which are still more tied to the traditional collectible space. You know, so I think it could be like a win-win opportunity mid to long term. So, you know, it's not like one side loses. And, you know, like you said, Hyung, the sentiment from old school collectors, sentiment from general collectors are like, see what I told you, see what I said, you know, I've been saying this all the time. NFTs are nothing. NFTs are dead. But, you know, like another comment that he wrote in the statement is that, you know, it's not that Fanatics or Michael Rubin, they don't believe in NFTs at all. I'll just kind of quickly find it here. He says, we already hold a broader and more significant set of NFT and digital collectibles rights within our Fanatics collectibles business that came with our trading card rights, including the NFL, MLB, NBA, and more. So they still have some connection to NFTs. They're just not going to just have like a standalone business product that deals with it. Yeah, so it's not in their interest to do that anymore at this time. So, you know, I think it's inevitable too that NFTs will be a major factor. You know, like it's really playing the mid to long game. Like you'll see, to your point, Hyung, like the technologies that are involved. You know, we'll look back at this time and say like, oh, it was so obvious. But it's always the case with new technology. It's never obvious when we're in it, but only when everyone's adopted it, and then we can say, yeah, the internet is so obvious. We can't live without the internet. I think it'll be something like that.
I'm telling you, in 1995, I bring this situation up all the time. It's like, if you said that we have technology that will totally shift our society in terms of the way we communicate, the way we do things, we would have said, yeah, right. You know, telephones and televisions were the biggest things. Like, you know what I mean? And flat screen TVs, it's like that was technology. And then all of a sudden, infrastructure like like shaker, like that totally shook the foundation of like society.
True.
Like that's exactly we're in that cycle again. That was 30 plus years ago, where this is now, that happened. The way I see it is that happened in 2D. Okay, the internet. There's only a certain amount of data you could transfer, and we started up with dial-up, and obviously a telephone connection is a lot slower. But as we get, bigger networks like the Ethereum network, this is where, virtual reality could come into a reality. So that's where I see things going in terms of how advanced and how fast, just the whole digital space is getting. I'm telling you, it's and we talked about this earlier in just off the air. It's like, this is the kind of stuff that I get a little excited about, because now it's like, if you thought you had imagination, now it's like, this is where you could really use that imagination, see where potentially it could take us. And being someone involved in kind of like, not necessarily the technological space, but being able to be an impact in any communities. If you're an entrepreneur, you're able to get ahead potentially if you're first, if you're kind of like that leading person in that industry. So I just see it totally different, just because I don't live in the card space. I come back to the card space, and sometimes I feel like people in the card space are so I guess sheltered from kind of like reality, because all we do is just rip cards, and that's all we do is at work we look at eBay auctions or whatever, right? So but yeah, I'm all positive for it overall. Like I said, there's growing pains to everything, and if we said that the card market was going to be in the state it is today back in 2019 or 2020, we'd be like, yeah, right. But there has to be a way to get kind of like that whole industry moving, and I think that's where we're going. We're just witnessing the growing pains.
Yeah, for sure. And with like all technology, not all technology is going to be the right fit for whatever industry we're talking about, including the sports card industry. But it's always good to experiment and to try things out, and I think that's what Fanatics was trying to do with Candy Digital. So I'm all for just experimenting, just testing out new things and see what sticks. And at the end of the day, like the ones that work the best will stick around, and then we'll be adopting that en masse. So like you, I'm looking forward to all the changes that will inevitably improve the hobby. I love what technology does also is to speed up the process of a lot of things. Right. So that's why I like too. Like I love moving at warp speed, and and just like benefiting from technological advancements, wherever that might come from. So yeah. Not all bad news, but I thought it was a good discussion to have, and then we'll inevitably see what happens with the hobby with all these new technologies that are going to come up in starting this year too. So yeah, with that, thanks for listening to our Friday episode of Cards to the Moon. We'll be back with you on Tuesday for our full-length regular episode. Till then, we'll see you soon. Bye. Hey, thanks for listening to Cards to the Moon. We'd really appreciate you subscribing to our podcast wherever you listen to your podcasts. And you can also connect with each of us on Instagram at 5cardguys, or you can follow Hyung at Integrity Sports Cards, or John at TradeU at Recess. You can also check us out at 5cardguys.com. Thanks again, and hope to connect soon.